Well, my name is Brinsley McNamara and welcome to the Weird Ireland podcast. Dingle, County Kerry, or Dangan y Kish, Cunday Kiri, is one of the landmark must-visit towns of Ireland. Well known for, amongst other things, the Wren Boys celebration on Stephen's Day, the Dawn Paddys Day parade, seemingly the earliest in Ireland. Is this a Gaeltacht town? Being a Gaeltacht town, its beautiful traditional pubs, dancing, music, the crack, and Fungie, the friendly Dingle Dolphin who was as much a denizen of Dingle in the water as the people were on the land. Fungie was the mascot of Dingle from the 1980s till he vanished in 2020. Yeah. I'm leaving that all in. But he's still fondly remembered in the town and even celebrated with a statue at the harbour. And now, here with me to fill us in on the story of Dingle's Dolphin and all things Danganiquish. I got it. Danganiquish, I nailed it. Is content creator and presenter Jamie Flannúra. How are you doing today, Jamie?
I'm not too bad. How are you getting on?
I'm good.
Welcome to Dingle.
Thank you. How do you say that? Fáilte
go
Danganiquish. In that intro there, when I was talking about some of the things that Dingle's known for, did I miss anything? Or
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think you should work for the Dingle Tourism Board, to be honest, considering the intro you gave for us.
I should work for some tourism board somewhere, maybe.
Absolutely, 100%, definitely.
All right, let's start off straight away with some Fungie lore. First thing, how come you know so much about Fungie, about the dolphin in particular? What's your relationship with the dolphin?
Well, I suppose I grew up with Fungie. As you mentioned, he came to England in 1983. I was born in 93, and my whole family were involved in, I suppose, the whole tourism of Fungie in Dingle, but he essentially was part of our family. I don't remember a time that Fungie wasn't being discussed at our kitchen table in the morning. We all were immersed into I suppose the life of Fungie, because he was such an integral part of the community, of the town. And as I said, I grew up with Fungie. My parents both were, I suppose, two of the first people who would have brought people out to see Fungie. And even my mom used to rent out wetsuits to customers and tourists who came to Dingle to swim with Fungie. So I think we all have that common thread here in Dingle, that Fungie was part of the town and part of the peninsula, but he essentially was definitely part of our family. All of us worked in tourism throughout our whole childhood and all the way up, and all of us are still working in tourism, but Fungie was just such a massive part of the town. I suppose he put Dingle on the map. He really did. And because where else would you get a single dolphin who spent 37 years in one place and loved spending time with people?
That's what I want to actually get on. What made Fungie special for people that don't know? What differentiated it from how common is it to see a dolphin in general in Dingle Bay?
Well, it's common to see dolphins out in Dingle Bay well beyond the harbour, but what was really special was that Fungie actually spent most of his time in the harbour, right in, and it only took about 10 minutes to get out on a big boat to see him. And what makes it special is that they often don't spend much time on their own, dolphins. They're normally in pods of a pod of dolphins. So because of that, that's one unique thing about him. Also, he was the longest ever dolphin to stay in one place as a lone dolphin.
Wow.
And it was so, I used to remember when I would be working on the boats and people would come on the boat and they're like, it's not the same dolphin. And you're putting another dolphin out there every couple of years. And I'm like, well, if that was the case, wouldn't there be a dolphin in every harbour all over Ireland?
Well, I want to get into that actually. So firstly, your family runs a
We have Dingle Sea Safari now, which is a company that my parents set up in 2018. But Fungie was an integral part of that because he showcased to my father, Jimmy, the opportunity to show more of the peninsula after spending nearly 30 years bringing people out to see Fungie and to swim with Fungie as well.
And pardon me. And I mean, the sea safari business, did they just go to, was it just that, or what other things can you see with a sea safari business?
So it's on board a fast boat, a rib, that travels at up to 30 kilometers per hour, where you get to spend 2.5 hours on this outdoor kind of adventure experience where you get to see the coastline, you get to hear about the history, the geology from the local captains. My brother's one of them, my dad, and they have just such an in-depth knowledge of the peninsula, of the wildlife, of the history, the geology, the Blasket Islands, the Blaskeaddy, which are the 6 islands off the coast of the Dingle Peninsula. And I suppose within the 2.5 hours, you're just getting this really immersive experience of being out in Dingle Bay, seeing, hearing and learning about so much, but also that thrill and adventure, with the Cúpla Focal thrown in as well, of course. And I think it's what people want now when they come to a destination. They want an experience. They want to immerse themselves into the local family-run businesses like ours, and they want to really just get out into the elements. And that's what the whole 2 hours is encapsulated, 2.5 hours. And I suppose you also get to see different wildlife at different times, depending on the time of the year. So maybe it's puffins from March through to July, hopefully humpback whales potentially July, August, September, and then also common dolphins and basking sharks in April or May. We've seen the first basking shark in Ireland there the second week in March, which is crazy, which is so uncommon. It's so early in the season. So I suppose it's just, there's so much to see, so much to learn, and that's what people want now, an experience. They want to walk away after 2.5 hours and go, oh my God, that was incredible. I got to do so much, see so much, be immersed into the water, the scenery, the cliffs, the history, the geology, all in 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And it just, Fungie really was the reason that I suppose we now are doing sea safaris, because he did just showcase that, there's more to see and out there in the I suppose the wide Atlantic Ocean.
And when people did the tours, when Fungie was still very much present, what kind of activity would you see from him? What would he do around the boats?
Do you know what? It really varied. I remember growing up, and he would come up beside the boat and he would jump beside the boat. But there'd be times when there would be nobody out there. There'd be no boats, and he would be jumping out of his skin, like jumping way up into the sky and down again. And he used to do this, and he used to do it actually to call back a fast boat that would be out playing with him. So he had this interaction with humans, and he didn't actually enjoy interacting with other dolphins.
Right.
So he used to always go to another part of the bay or the harbour when other dolphins would come in, which is really unique. Again, it made him special. And he used to then, if there was small boats out playing with him, and he'd be interacting with them, he'd be jumping up beside them, or he'd want to nearly there was this playful kind of energetic energy with him. But when the boat would start to come into into the town again, it was like he was calling it back. He would jump out of his skin to call the boat back to continue playing with him. And it just, like, all of those little moments were kind of really, really special. A unique one was in 2020, 5 years ago, when COVID hit. My dad was really concerned about his welfare, because Fungie would have spent every day having other boats in and out. He would have played beside them, just swam beside them, or he would have come up beside them. And so when COVID hit, there was no boats, there was no tourism here in Dingle. And so Dad got special permission to go out and visit Fungie and to spend time with him on a daily basis to ensure that his welfare was, that he was getting that human interaction. And there was, I think it was a couple of weeks after nobody had been out to him, Dad went out with the small boat, and Fungie was jumping out of his skin, because he knew that somebody had come out to spend time with him and to just interact with him.
Class.
And again, that just was what made him so special. And he put Dingle on the map, and now Dingle has blossomed and has grown into a phenomenal destination that attracts people from all over the world. But if it wasn't for Fungie, Dingle would not be on the map. Or it would have had to try a lot harder to get Dingle on the map. Definitely.
I want to go to a bit of the timeline actually regarding that, because you mentioned 2020, and I think I mentioned earlier that that's the year that...
The year.
The year.
The year. That was the year. Yeah, October.
Did you say 1983? Is that when
1980.
Fungie first appeared? Was that the case?
1983, yeah. So he spent 37 years. And I suppose the first sighting was from several of the fishermen who've seen a dolphin following them when they were going out to fish. And there was this rumor going around saying that, Fungie would only, or there was a dolphin spotted and he was following boats in and out. And that he, they were saying he would, it's just a normal dolphin, another dolphin, he won't stay for long. And then after, a couple of months, Fungie, the dolphin was still following the fishing boats in and out. And so some of the local men came together and decided, you know what, there's people coming down, wanting to go out and see this dolphin that is in the harbour. So they started bringing people out on the fishing boats, and then I think maybe 2 or 3 years later, my dad was one of the first, I suppose, boat operators that started bringing people out. My granddad and my uncle, and then it was 3 generations, my grandmother and my aunt and my uncle. So all of us were all involved in it, and then the next generation was myself, my cousins, my brother, and now I suppose, which is really nice, is my my nephew is now kind of getting started on the faster boats. He's 10 years of age, so like there's that generational thing that is continuing. And yeah,
were you fishers? Were they fishers?
My dad and my brother, and all of them would have been fishermen. And yeah, they've spent all their lives on boats. I'm the only one that didn't go down that route.
Really?
I didn't. No, I opted to stay in education. Went off to university, but Dingle drew me back. It's 5 years ago nearly. It was this week 5 years ago, I suppose. I actually technically moved back to Dingle after a good few years all over the country.
Right. So would you say that the people touring to go see Fungie started in the 1980s?
1980s. And then there was just a massive publicity from it. I suppose there was people from all over the world coming, famous people coming to see him, to swim with him, and look, he was just world renowned. And then he was in the Guinness World Records for the longest dolphin to stay in one place ever. So he won that record in it was 2016, maybe 2017, around then. And then we'd several celebrations. I remember my first time going swimming with him. Oh my God, I was terrified.
How does swimming with Fungie work? How does someone go about that?
Yeah, I suppose when I say swimming with Fungie, it's more so like it was it was where I say they would rent wetsuits as my mother would have rented wetsuits from our house, and they would go out at 8 to 10 in the morning because it was the quietest time, to hopefully see him swimming underneath you. So it's not this whole, like where you would see swimming with dolphins in a park or anything. It was more so that you would wear wetsuits, you would go out on one of the bigger boats, and then we would bring smaller boats to draw Fungie in towards the swimmers, and then Fungie would maybe swim around them, swim underneath them, but it wouldn't have been him interacting with them, or it wouldn't have been like, people touching him or in contact. But in the early 1980s and 1990s, there's loads of stories of swimmers where he would jump up right beside them and he would have interacted more with them. But as he got older, like, I suppose dolphins generally live between 40 and 60 years in the wild. Fungie was not fully grown when he came in 1983, so they reckon he was in his early 40s whenever he left and wherever he went off to. But I have a lovely phrase, and it's like, you don't know where he came from when you don't know where he's gone to. And I think I just always remember it like that.
So that was October 2020. What happened? How was it?
Yeah, October 2020, and it still sits in our heads because it was the end of the crazy tourism season from staycations. COVID.
That was actually a pretty good season for staycations.
It was phenomenal. Dingle was in the...
I went to Letterfrack, I think, for that and everything. That was actually brilliant, yeah.
It was a fantastic season, a fantastic year, and I think it actually made Irish people really appreciate holidaying at home again, really appreciate what's on your doorstep and what you can do. Dingle was absolutely thronged. Yeah. It was 2020... COVID had just lifted, and it was probably it was the top 3 staycations in Ireland, destinations, and there was like just the streets were packed. Class. And yeah, I suppose Fungie, it was, that season was the last season that we seen him. October, I remember my parents were bringing one of our fast boats down to Cork, and they had gone out in the boat, and it was the last time they seen him. And he had come up beside the fast boat, and he was. I remember Dad saying like he was just very, very. He was just kind of. He wasn't interacting that much, but he was slow paced. And then they brought the fast boat around to Cork, and then I remember the morning. It was the third week in October, and people had said Fungie hadn't been seen in a day, and we were like, oh no, he's he's definitely out there. And we started to go out on the boat to see if he was there. And then another day went on, and then the news started contacting us, and then it went global within 24 hours.
Wow.
It was, and we had, I remember Dad telling me his phone would not stop hopping, because Dad was the chairman of the association at the time. He would have been the spokesperson who would have, I suppose, dealt with all inquiries related to Fungie, and it was it was a surreal time.
Yeah,
I'll never forget. Like, I remember spending days out on the boat looking for him. All of us, there was boats from all over looking for him.
Could Fungie be gone for a few days at a time?
He would have been gone
or?
for a day or two, but it was never a case that he was gone for more than 48 hours.
Wow.
In
okay.
37 years.
It
was
March,
alarm bells.
Yeah.
Alarm bells. But look, I suppose the nice thing about it is nobody knows where he went. And I think the good thing about it is that, like, he wasn't found.
Yeah.
In a way that, you know, obviously people would have loved to have known, but I suppose that mystery still lives on.
Yeah.
And it's something that I just think there is a nice thing about it, because we didn't know where he came from either.
Yeah. There's actually when I was first reaching out for people that might be able to talk about Fungie for a podcast, somebody got in contact with me saying that they know a guy in County Clare who's getting pretty tight with a dolphin at the minute. And I was like, oh, could it be Fungie? And she was like, no, it's definitely not. It's definitely
There's
not.
distinct
Yeah.
mark. There was distinct marks on Fungie. He was about 13 foot in length. He had a distinct mark on his fin. He had several marks that he would have got from other dolphins, maybe, or do you know? He never. And you would know it was Fungie. Like, we knew Fungie. Fungie was a bottlenose dolphin. He was massive. Like, when he jumped out of the water, you could distinguish him from a miles away from any other dolphin.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes that you might spot a dolphin and be like, oh my God, it looks like Fungie. But, like, you know, bottlenose dolphins off the coast of Dingle here.
Honestly, the biggest question I've had for this entire podcast, and I've had this for a long time, and I've not been able to find any reliable information. Who named him Fungie and why? What is Fungie? What does that name mean?
Yeah, Fungie. So it's an interesting one. So basically, it was, people say that it's the whole idea of, like, he's a fun guy and that they used to interact with him. No, that was it. And then that's what stuck. But then there was another, so there's two different things, that it was a nickname of somebody local as well that had spotted him originally on the fishing boats.
Right.
So there's two different stories that are going around, but I'm pretty sure it's one of them.
I think I saw on journal.ie or something like that. It gave an explanation that it was because the guy already had this nickname, and the guy had a really bad beard and it kind of looked like fungus. But that's just something.
I had heard that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they were just connecting like 2 and 2 together and getting 7. I don't know, because that doesn't sound like a reliable.
That's the height I've heard. That's the height I've heard. It's a very Fungie. What could it mean otherwise? You know,
Fungie, and the spelling of it, Fungie
always
without
IE,
the
isn't it?
E.
Yeah.
It's always with IE.
Yeah.
Or there's several spellings.
Would that be because of? Is the letter Y in Irish? No.
No.
Could it be because of that?
Could be. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
There's something you mentioned earlier, and it's something that we have to address. So I actually did see Fungie in the early 2000s.
Very good.
Came down to Dingle to do the boat tour.
Yes.
Well, the first question actually is, if someone did, it's unrelated to what I was about to say. If someone was going to go on a tour to see Fungie, were you pretty much guaranteed to see him on the tour?
You were 99% guaranteed. If you didn't see Fungie, you didn't pay.
Really?
And that was what we. That was something that all of the boat operators here that we were part of followed. And it was an opportunity to, if you didn't see him, you could always hop on again later on or tomorrow. Do you know, because people didn't, because it was that, there was basically that guarantee that you would see him. I remember I worked on the boat since the age of 11 as tour guide. Would have been my granddad, my brother and my dad. And I suppose it was like maybe once or twice throughout every season we wouldn't see him, and that was because the seas would be too rough outside the harbour, and we just couldn't get out to him. And we didn't want to charge people if they just spotted a fin, so it was like, right, we're not charging you guys, we'd love for you to come on board again later on or tomorrow, because we wanted to just offer them that opportunity to see him.
Right.
And it was that everybody had that special connection with him. There's people from all over the world that you make friends for life, and my parents have friends that they met down through the 35 odd years that they were bringing people out, that still send letters to them, still come to Dingle after Fungie's gone, still come out in the sea safari. And I think that's what made him special. It was the people that he brought together. It was the community aspect of it, and it was also like the stories people had about him, like the amazing stories that they had of him swimming with him, interacting with him, and people just used, and the phenomenal stories about like people being cured from illnesses that have gone out to visit him.
There's genuinely it's something I found on YouTube. There was a YouTube documentary from the 1990s. Well, not YouTube documentary, a documentary on YouTube from the 1990s, and it had to do with people that swam with Fungie, but they had but it wasn't just swimming with a dolphin or a special dolphin. They kind of saw him as like a spiritual connection with him, and I forgot that bit. Actually, he had seemingly curative powers or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was more so the interaction and but I suppose it's the hope that it was given people as well. Like, I believe in a lot of there's a lot of elements that you just need to, continue the fight and the battle, and I think like it was giving people that maybe that additional year or two that they might have not had, because they might have lost hope, and then they've come and they've completely been regenerated, and then they feel that they've a sense of being able to battle an illness further, so it mightn't have been that he might have given this spiritual thing, could have been an element of it, absolutely, but I do think like that it definitely helped a lot of people, and it helped a lot of people who they used to just go out. I remember my dad saying, like, and my mom, they'd be like, oh, we just want to just get out and just spend some time with Fungie. Do you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I just think he he really did showcase so much that you could show to tourists as well, now and into the future.
And okay, here's the question I was getting at that we have that has to be addressed. When I saw him in the early 2000s, us not being from Dingle, and that was the only time we're really in Dingle for a long time after that. There was that popular opinion going around the country to people that were not from Dingle, that one of two things: either one, that Fungie was any number of dolphins that could have been in the harbour at any time, and any time you saw a dolphin, people said, "Oh, that's Fungie." And the other one was that Fungie died on at least one occasion and was actually just replaced with a different dolphin, and they call that one Fungie.
Yeah.
What's your response to this? Have you heard these, and what's your response?
Hear it all the time. We used to hear it all the time, and as I said, like, yeah, we hear that all the time. And I think the main thing about that was that, like, well, it's not possible to just put a dolphin into a harbour and expect it to stay there and to come up beside the boats on a daily basis unless it wanted to do it itself. And then the other thing is, like, well, if you had a dolphin that did it, you're not going to be able to replace him because he won't do it again. So, like, that just addresses the fact that it was the same dolphin. He interacts with the boats like no other dolphins, and he came up beside the boat. A lot of the dolphins actually would come up on the bow of the boat, the front of the boat,
right?
So you wouldn't actually get to see them. They'd swim on the top of the boat, whereas Fungie would come up. There was even, like, to a point that the captains, and my brother and my granddad and my dad, they used to, like, when they would slow down the boat, Fungie would come up beside the boat, so they had it timed, like he was following the engine noise of the boat. Cool. And, like, those are things that, like, you can't train a dolphin to do that, and it's completely, like, we were in the Atlantic Ocean, like, and there's fishing boats in and out all the time. It's not like there was a net around the harbour. People just came up with these hilarious ideas.
Have you heard any other hilarious ideas except for the ones I mentioned?
No, they're definitely two of the top ideas. Like, you definitely replace him. You definitely replaced him. Oh, he's not the same it wasn't the same dolphin. And yeah, any of the dolphins could have been him. Like, But sure, look,
The fungi conspiracy theories.
absolutely,
That's what they are, honestly. Yeah. So in 2020, height of COVID, fungi's nowhere to be seen. What does that mean to 5 years later? And then what does that mean to the tourism in Dingle? How did that impact it?
Yeah, I suppose, like, obviously, the tours that were operating and bringing people out to see fungi were on a bigger boat. And I suppose my dad had seen that there was a need to diversify well before fungi left. So in 2018, he established the company Dingle Sea Safari with one boat. So that's a fast boat that brings people out. And he wanted to showcase more of the peninsula and seen an opportunity to do this. So he'd built up the business in 2020 so that the business was well established. The company was there. A lot of us were working in the company, or now are working in the company, and it was an opportunity to really to grow then the business and make it more established and to develop it. And I suppose 5 years on now, so Dingle Sea Safari is the number one experience to do in the Dingle Peninsula on TripAdvisor, and I think it's because it's just such a fantastic way to see the whole peninsula. But on top of that, everybody had to diversify and had to offer other tours as well. Dingle itself had been well established before fungi left in 2020. As a food destination, as a tourism destination, it has everything. It has the scenery, it has the fantastic wildlife out in Dingle Bay, but it also has just an amazing, I suppose, sense of, I think, calmness when you're in the town. And the culture and the language and everything is all encapsulated into this one small town with a population of 2,000 people.
Wow.
And the peninsula is like 18,000 people, yet you have 96% of family-run businesses that all collaborate with each other. And it's what makes it so unique. And for me, moving back to Dingle I've moved back to 5 years ago, and been so immersed into the town and the peninsula as, I suppose, first of all, marketing manager of Dingle Sea Safari.
Right.
But then also being involved in so many festivals and so many events that happen in the town. Like, it's such a fantastic community that organises so much when we have it's such a small town. Like, you know yourself walking around, like, but yet it just draws so many people from all over the world. And it's, when I talk to people coming to Dingle, they're all like, oh my God, we're doing Dublin, Cork, Dingle, Galway. And I'm like, all the cities, and then Dingle just pops up. And you're like, yeah, because they're like, and I don't even say I'm from Kerry, I say I'm from Dingle. Because when I'm talking to people, they're like, well, we know Dingle, but they know Kerry. And I'm like, this is mad. But they just, because Dingle's on the map.
One thing I find so funny is that I made a bunch of videos for Weird Ireland across the Dingle Peninsula in general. And it's only on one of the earliest ones I discovered it can get a lot of traction because to Americans the word dingle is very, very funny.
Yeah, it does. It seems to draw quite an attraction for other reasons. Just for the scenery and the people and the culture and the place. But no, like, I just think it's just that one of those destinations that just people are drawn to, and people are prepared to travel. Like, I'm like, when I meet people from Dublin, they're like, yeah, I'm going to Dingle for the weekend. I'm like, fair play to you. Like, I was in college in Dublin for 3 years, and I'm like, I didn't go home for 5 or 6 weeks because I was like, what a trek. Now, it did take about 8 hours with the train and the bus, and it was a camel ride. Like, tried to get home.
It's gotten a lot better these days, I think. How common is, because you're a Gaeilgeoir, yeah?
Yes, I am a fluent Irish language speaker.
How common is that in Dingle town?
Very common, and I suppose it's becoming more and more common. Like, we're in the Gaeltacht area here, so it's right in the heart of one of the Gaeltacht areas in Ireland, Irish language speaking area. But it's the language, it's the culture, it's the heritage, it's everything encapsulated in one. All of the primary schools here in the peninsula are all through the medium of the Irish language.
All right.
It's just for Gaeltacht area, they all are through Irish. I myself I'm a qualified primary school teacher. I taught in the Gael school in Cork for a few years, and then I've been doing substitute teaching here in the Dingle Peninsula. So I would work with a lot of the Irish language schools here as well. Not only teaching, but doing digital media workshops, doing trainings on filmmaking. And then I worked as a journalist as well in the Irish language, presenter for Coola Cahir and TG Cahir, so I was doing short news pieces through Oscailge for kids TV as well.
Class.
Yeah.
I was going to say one thing I was going to say to you. I mentioned it before we started recording was that I actually I went to the Gael Talk last summer in Ballyferriter, and I've been meaning to go for years. But my dad is from Kerry / Cork, and I wanted to bring him because he wanted to do it for a long time, but it was only under his stipulation that to be a Munster Gaeltacht.
Yes.
And finding a Munster Gaeltacht where you can do adult summer courses and you're not a primary school teacher was a little bit like Donegal nearly every week of the summer. But he was under his stipulation. No,
that he wants to come to
be Kerry.
West Kerry.
Yeah. I don't know if he would have settled for Waterford. I don't know if you.
Well, I think like the Munster dialect, because you have 3 different dialects that make up the Irish language. So you have the Munster, the Connacht, and the Ulster Donegal, and then they all were brought together to make the standardised Irish back in the 1950s, and that's where the standardisation came, and that's why a lot of words from all of the different dialects make up the standardised Irish that we learn in school today.
What do they say on shot instead of on saw?
On saw, yeah, it's just all those different phrases that we would say, and they've been passed down from generation to generation. So here in the Dingle Peninsula, there's several phrases. Homid on saw, we're on saw instead of on shaw.
Yeah.
And for Munster and Kerry, so Vime is I was yesterday, like I was Vime, but Vius is what you would say. So we put it in when it's in the past tense. You intertwine the 2 words, and there's a lot of lovely phrases that you would use. And so a lovely one of my favorite phrases is no talha, which means absolute perfection. No talha, but it's only really used in this peninsula and in Munster.
Right.
Oshin no talha, that is absolutely perfect. You can't change it. It doesn't need to be changed. And Dingle is no talha. It's perfect. The Dingle Peninsula is no talha.
That should be the slogan of it.
The slogan, no talha.
I was actually told in the Gael Talk that according to the teacher, the Moocher, that Dingle is the only town in a Gael Talk that has 2 names.
It does, yes.
It does,
yeah. And I remember this, actually, and to go back now, this all connects back now to Fungie, because I remember being out on a swimming trip with Fungie, right? I was 10 or 11, I think, at the time. And I remember, it was the early 2000s. And I remember a Dingle sign going up on the hill as we were coming in from the boat at about 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, oh, this is about that controversy with the name. So I was like, right. So, and I was like 10 years old, like I was still in primary school. So I remember anyway, we were like, right, we'll go up now and we'll get photos of the Dingle Hollywood sign. So it was the Dingle Hollywood sign. It was like Dingle.
Is that
like
still here?
Oh no, it was taken down within 24 hours. It had to be taken down. It had to be. It had no planning permission. Yeah. It had to be taken down. And so I'll never forget. I was like, Dingle. I was like, this is class. So like, we went up anyways. The Dingle Dangny Coosh sign. Like, So I was like, because of the Dingle. I'm gone off on a tangent now, but the Dingle sign was because in protest about the fact that they wanted to change the name of Dingle to just Undangan, but that is not a direct translation, and it was being used. It was confusing tourists when they were trying to find Dingle, because they weren't going to put the English version with the Irish name on signs, on Google Maps. So basically it would mean that people were going to be brought to the wrong place. Undangan is actually a place up in the middle of the country, and people another Undangan, but basically the issue was that yes, there was a protest and people wanted to make sure that Dingle Dangny Coosh was actually being used as the name, because they thought that it was going to have a negative effect on people not being able to find the town, not being able to get here. And I totally agree. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, our Irish language is so important to me. Like, I mean, I grew up with it. I'm immersed into the culture, the language, the heritage, and we need to make sure that we preserve it and promote it, but in a bilingual way that is encouraging people to use it as well. And it's really important. But I think that was something that really was that I suppose people protest against and got changed.
So they have it at, so like every other town across the Gael Talks of Ireland have the one Irish language name.
They would,
whereas here it's Dingle,
Dangany Coosh.
Yeah. When you're in mid-speech in Irish, do you say Dangany Coosh or do you say Dingle?
I'd say Dangany Coosh, Dangany Coosh would be, Yeah, people would know it.
Yeah. Even is Spittle County? I say Spittle.
Spittle is Galway, yeah.
But is that
Unspadale,
Unspadale?
Spittle.
So that's technically
Spittle, Unspadale, Spittle. So you'd know
is
it.
that technically the only? Yeah, you'd know it.
You'd know it. You know, like,
it.
you would, yeah.
That's technically the only name of the place now officially is on
would be.
Yeah. I was gonna say Spittle's a fun
Spittle,
word.
yeah. Unspadale, yeah.
I actually saw a headline the other day yesterday, I think, in fact, that allegedly there's about 3,000 Irish words created every year.
There is, yeah.
Update dictionaries, that kind of thing. Is there any recent developments in that kind of thing down here?
It would be new phrases and new words that are being included in the English language that we wouldn't have heard. I suppose they're the new that's demurred. You know, like all those new
the example they gave was riz, and I didn't read
was
how
what?
it's riz.
Oh yeah.
Like how do you say that? Do you know how to in Irish?
I don't have a clue.
No.
I haven't actually. I don't know if it's
everyone ever in our 30s in this room.
I don't know if it's been added into it yet. So they add them in normally at the end of the year that are like, so the block of them would be like from 2024 they'll add in new. So there's always people doing research on new words that need to be translated into Irish, and so you would use, and I would use it all the time, like Bresh Folklore or folklore.ie, and they would they have the specific pronunciation as well, so you can go on and listen to the pronunciation of the word in the different dialects. So it's really cool. Like obviously somebody from a different dialect would want to use their dialect of how to pronounce that word, so you can actually get that on folklore.ie.
Fair play.
Yeah.
I actually knew a guy who used to work for them, and they had to go, sometimes if they had to query some like very native speakers, but a lot of these guys just were like owl lads that didn't have a laptop, right? They had to like write letters.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I did want to ask you about, I think you mentioned a bit already, you're a presenter and content creator. I mean, you do it with... Yeah.
So I suppose I took a career break from primary school teaching back in 2020, and I moved back to Dingle. I had a plan to travel, and I ended up travelling from Cork to Kerry. So I moved from Cork to Kerry, 2 hours and 20 minutes drive, so it's not too bad. But I did plan on travelling the world, and that still hasn't happened 5 years on. Right. But no, I moved back to Kerry and ended up going into the media world. I worked for an Irish language company, Kinia, who were doing workshops for teachers, and I trained about 100 teachers during COVID online in digital media and robotics and...
What was your degree in that?
My degree was in medicinal chemistry first in UCD.
Class.
And then I did a master's in primary school teaching, and then taught for 3 years, and then said, you know what, I love the classroom, but I want to try other opportunities. So I took a career break, and then it was at the time, when COVID hit, and so my parents ended up asked me if I would obviously be more involved in the company here in Dingle.
Yeah.
So that was when I really got immersed into the town, into the Dingle Peninsula and back into tourism. But it was all full circle, I suppose. But for me, I think everything that I've done has all been connected back to all of the different education experiences I've had. So be it from the science degree I did in UCD, where I had a scholarship in the Irish language in UCD and promoted the Irish language, and then teaching. From those experiences, I then ended up working in doing workshops with teachers, working in an Irish language radio station, working as a journalist and presenter for Coola Cahir, the Irish language kids station, which is all connected back to education and science and teaching in the Irish language. And then working in marketing and content creation for Dingle Sea Safari. So that's where I got my first opportunity of content creation, would have been about 5 years ago, making content for promoting the Sea Safari, because we were getting, it was a real, it was at that time where the digital media world was growing, but it didn't explode until 22, 23 really, and I think I was kind of learning from on my own back without having any real degree in it. But I think learning from all the different opportunities that I had, I was able to then bring that into my own career as, I suppose, content creator as well. I worked for Murphy's Ice Cream for a while as their
down here,
their social media coordinator as well. And then I work for several events as social media content creator presenter in the Dingle Peninsula and all over Ireland. So work for the Dingle Races was one of the first ones I did here in August, but I do the Dingle Food Festival, the Dingle Literary Festival, Féile Litríocht de Chorchuine, so it's a bilingual Irish language festival as well. And for that, I'm the presenter, social media coordinator, so I would do a lot of the interviews, would do the hosting for the social media online, and then also the FLA Ceol na Héireann. I would have done that with TG Cahir last year in Lurg Media. So I suppose all those opportunities that would have come up would have been through my first experience was actually as a presenter for Kinia, who's a company in Dublin and Galway, doing interviews about science, technology, digital media for young people, and making videos for Cúla Cahir Skull, which was the kids' Irish language school lockdown program that was on whenever we were I was making science videos for that. So again, like science, Irish language teaching all comes into one again. So yeah, like all of that has I feel like every opportunity that I get, I just build on it and grow on it. And then it's great to be, using the Irish language is such a fantastic for me, because I love speaking Irish. I love bringing in the Cúpla Focal. I love including it in any type of event. So I've emceed the Tralee St. Patrick's Day Parade for the last 3 years.
Wow.
And that was from promoting the Irish language as well at the parade, and bringing an Irish language element of it to it as well. So all those opportunities, definitely, I wouldn't be where I am today without the Irish language. And without my real interest in it and involvement in it.
How do you find presenting? Did it come naturally to you? Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I remember at the start it was challenging, but I think you learn from every experience that you have, and you learn skills from others, and you're always open to listening to others. I would be my world's worst critic to myself. I would critique myself a lot, but I think that's how you learn, and that's how you get better. And then you learn from others. And then interview styles, depending on what the event is, depending on what the setting is, you need to, I suppose, pull the conversation out from the interviewee. And that's what's really important. You're facilitating them discussing with you as an interviewer. But then as a presenter, you're obviously trying to showcase, and I think social media presenting has gone in a really interesting way as well, where people are getting a lot of their insights into where to go, what to do, what to see, where. That's how people are now traveling, and that world has exploded, especially on Instagram, on TikTok. So I love it because it's a nice way of being able to showcase like the whole of Ireland and all over the world. I suppose last year I went to Vietnam and the Philippines for a month, and I remember going.
Were you off the clock, or were you making content?
Oh, it was a bit of both. Yeah. It's kind of hard to be off the clock.
I know. I very much. Yeah.
And Vietnam, I did solo on my own for 2 weeks, and it was very much like I wanted to showcase the culture, and I loved it because it was like the culture, the heritage, the people. That's a phenomenal country, and I wanted to really showcase that across social media, but I suppose in a really authentic way, and that's what I try to do. So yeah,
fair play. I was going to ask you, because today is literally St. Patrick's Day.
It is.
Today is the
day,
and you're off to Tralee to MC a festival.
I am indeed.
Parade, rather.
Yeah.
And but for anyone that's listening around the Dingle Peninsula, not that Tralee's in the Dingle Peninsula, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No.
Yes, okay. But for anyone that wants to visit the Dingle Peninsula, whether it be Paddy's Day or not, what is the things to see around the place?
Yes. So the Dingle Peninsula has fantastic opportunities to see. Sorry, I'll start that again. Or is this going to be edited?
Yeah.
I was like, do you want to go?
To be honest, most of it isn't. But because it's actually going tremendous. You know.
Oh, stop!
It's going not all like. Or how do you say it? Not all.
Notala.
Yeah, it's going Notala.
No, Notala. It's going to be Notala. It's going to be perfect. This is the part that I was like, yeah, you need to change it. What's there to do in the Dingle Peninsula? Yeah. Well, you need to get out on the boat. So, of course, you have to get out on Dingle Seas Ferry. But you also need to do the Slayhead Drive. You need to see the peninsula from...
We won't be able to do that, but we're going to do the Connor Pass on the way back.
Oh, that's a brilliant drive as well. Yeah. You need to see both of those. So you remind me of the Connor Pass. So coming into Dingle, come over the Connor Pass, see Dingle Town from the top. Then you need to go around Slayhead and see na Blascade, the 6 Blasket Islands off the coast, but also Dunquin Pier, on Farmarov, the Sleeping Giant.
Oh,
you need to see him.
Tremendous.
And you see him from Clogher Beach, which is like Untraw down at the bottom. You need to see the Sleeping Giant. And then you need to get into Dingle again. And then you really need to just enjoy the food, the pubs. And you can do the Dingle Distillery tour. You could go into Dingle Ocean World, which is fantastic. One of the best aquariums I've ever been in. You could see the penguins and see the turtle and the basket. and the sharks. And then you should also travel around the town and do a fantastic pub crawl and a food tour.
Yeah.
So you should do like your own food tour really, because you should go to the likes of Sullus, do fantastic tapas. The Fish Box do amazing. Flannery's Fish Box, my cousins. Shout out.
Miles got some of that yesterday.
Oh, stop. Unbelievable. You have to. It's incredible. And then best Guinness in Dingle. Have to go to Paddy Bond's or Curran's or Foxy's or Dick Mack's or
I was honestly going to ask you this question because we're going to be, I mean, it's the day itself, so we're going to be looking around the pubs and we don't know them too well here, so we're glad to hear all these Foxy's. We heard about Foxy's. We were in Dick Mack's yesterday actually, yeah. Curran's,
Paddy Bond's.
Yeah,
Flaherty's, phenomenal. Yeah. And then the music and the dancing, set dancing. I do set dancing in Nelligan's every Monday night. It's the best place to be in Ireland on a Monday night. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It is hopping. Paddy's Day tonight. It is hopping. We've about, I'd say, 35 to 40 people from the age of 18 to 80 dancing with each other. And it's incredible. And I only started set dancing about 3 years ago. I was an Irish dancer for about 25 years. And I think having that rhythm, having that interest, but also it's the crack. I always say I go in there and I forget about reality for 3 hours, and then whenever I'm in there I'm like, this gives me just another, I suppose it sense of like life, and I'm upbeat leaving and I'm like, right, can continue the rest of the week.
100%.
4 more days till the weekend.
That's going to be on, despite being Paddy's Day today, sometimes times changing, there still will be the dancing on this evening.
It will indeed, yeah. It's on from 8:30 to 11 o'clock.
All right.
And also
till 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. And sometimes it goes on to like 11:30. Some nights I don't get home till like 12. I'm like, so you're chatting. Like it's a community. It's the bond. It's what brings people together. It's such a social outing. And there's set dancing lessons all over the peninsula as well. Yeah. So I suppose, and then also like if you're down in Dingle, lower the Cuid Cúpla Focal. You can throw in your Gaeilge. There's people with Irish all over the peninsula, and it's lovely to hear it being spoken around the town. So like, absolutely. And then of course, like, you're getting your coffee, there's Bean in Dingle, there's My Boy Blue, they've unbelievable juice for thought, like the coffees. We're absolutely spoiled for coffees here in town as well. So definitely you have to check out those places and get a coffee and a lovely, lovely treat.
100%. Miles, you should have held off from going to Super Value for your coffee just there. Yeah. There'll be time for more of that.
The 6 a.m. parade that we had just there.
The 6 a.m. parade we had today. Absolutely. One of the
first parade in Ireland.
First parade, the earliest parade
in Ireland.
Yeah.
And the Dingle Fife and Drum band that go around the town about, I don't know, but I couldn't even count the amount of times throughout the year. But we love hearing the band around. Yeah. Not only on St. Patrick's Day for the first parade, they go around for Easter Sunday. But
do they?
They do indeed.
Really? At 6 a.m?
Not at 6 a.m.
Okay.
But one of the best days then is Ran's Day on the 26th of September.
Oh, you say Ran, okay.
The Wren's Day, the Wren, on the 26th of December.
That is kind of the right, I've been told by, even my man would say Ran instead of Ren.
Ran, yeah.
She's from Mullingar.
The Ran. But the Ran's Day, where all of the Ran boys, they dress up in the straw and they all come together. There's different Rans, which are groups of musicians, and you're dressed up in straw and dressed up in all different outfits for the day. You have specific Rans that are connected to specific parts of the town that have a history. So the streets, John Street, Goat Street, the K Ran.
You have just individual streets
in Dingle, and Jesus. They all have specific people who are grown up and are parts of those Rans, and then they play instruments and they go around the town. They collect money for charity. So it's a fantastic day. The Rans Day, it's the best day. One of the best days. I'm not going to say, I'm not mind all the festivals. Like, I mean, food festival, one of the best festivals.
When is that?
3rd to the 5th of October is honestly like, you eat and drink your way around Dingle for 2 solid days. Class. It is incredible. Local produce, local food, and it's all about the people. I love it. It's probably one of my favourites, but I can't say it's my favourite because I'm involved in so many of them. Failing to be out as well in May is the 3rd to the 5th of May, which is a cultural Irish language arts music festival that is on as well. So we're spoiled.
Do you do anything for Bridges Day or the Biddies or that kind of thing?
We actually didn't have any festival in, I suppose the only time that the businesses get off is the start of January and February. So because they're family run businesses, they literally are working around the clock all the time. So that's one of the weekends that we wouldn't have. I don't think there's any. There was actually a music festival this year. There was a new music festival in.
Did I hear about that?
in
Because now, only as of the last 2 years, that's a bank holiday weekend now.
it is, yeah.
So that's only going to really...
In the Green Room in Dingle,
yeah.
there was a new music festival, and it was actually very
What was it
successful.
called, actually? I feel like I might I feel like I might have heard about it.
Yeah, no, it was a really, really new modern festival that was on, a music festival, and it was on for just one day. So I'd say they'll build that up into more.
Surely, with a bank holiday,
yeah.
surely. Yeah.
But yeah, no, once Paddy's Day starts, that's when the season starts, and we'll go all the way through to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day again. Brilliant.
Why?
Yeah.
What's your New Year's like here?
New Year's is one of the best New Year's celebrations here in Dingle. We have fireworks that are on at 8 p.m. across in the marina, and probably have the best viewing area here down in my family house, right across on the harbour. So it's it's one of the best 2 days. And then New Year's Day, Paddy O'Shea's Pub, Super Cayley, Polka Cahir, two of the best bands in Ireland play trad modern, unbelievable. So I mean, I feel like I'm just, I don't know, we could talk about Dingle for hours.
honestly, yeah. I mean, the Wren Boys is a really interesting one because it's the Wren Boys the 26th of December every year.
Yeah.
Or the Ran Boys.
Ran,
Ran Boys, the
yeah.
Ran. That's
it's a great tradition that's there.
It's all over the country, but Dingle. When I put out the call back in December because I really wanted to go to a celebration of it, and I'm based in Mullingar. There's none in Mullingar town. There's none in Westmeath really.
No,
but I put out the call and asking people where can I go? Where can I see this? And the vast majority, Dingle is the biggest. Dingle is really kind of the flagship one, and the traditional. Not everywhere does the straw hat thing. A lot of places it kind of looks like Halloween costumes. A lot around Dublin is like that, and. Where's another good place? A lot of Limerick.
There's a lot of North Kerry, Limerick, kind of.
Carrigaline?
Cork,
Carrigaline seem to have another very big one actually.
They do, yeah, and that's where I was teaching the girls' school down there.
Really?
So they do, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's a brilliant. Like I suppose the Ran Boys is such a great tradition to keep alive, and the Old Comrades is the tune that they would play. So it's that a lot of the Wrens would play. So it's really, really important to keep that going, and you could see the generations, and you could see the youngest kids now in Dingle have their own Ran or Droleen and Og. Droleen is Ran in Irish. So Droleen and Og, the young Ran, and they go around. It's the boys' school here in Dingle. They have like 30 or 40 of them go around as the first Ran on the 26th, and they also have a fantastic school band that would play throughout the year around the town. So the tradition is going down to the next generation, and that's what's so important.
That's only getting more popular, if anything. The Ran, that's honestly coming up a lot.
Yeah,
and Biddies is really coming up a lot too.
Kilorglin do a Biddies festival as well.
Yeah, that's not too far from here. No, it's the Nix Peninsula.
An hour and a half. Yeah.
Now, if you're going on the boat.
Yes, if you go on the boat. We don't land over there though.
No.
But no, I suppose look, festivals, events, there's just so many on. I think there was 34 festivals in the Dingle Peninsula in 1 year there is. So, and a lot of them are all voluntary. So the committees are voluntary. I sit on 3 different committees. The Féil na Bealtaine, Dingle Food Festival, Dingle Literary Festival. And for me, it's just so important that it's all a lot of locals that are on it, a lot of people who are giving up their time and effort because they just love being involved. It's a community aspect, it's a social aspect, but also knowing that look, we're all supporting each other. We know that it's beneficial to the town, to the businesses, to everybody who's here. And we just want to really, showcase the best of what Dingle has to offer, be it from food, for the food festival, to Dingle Literary Festival is one of the
story? When is that? When is that?
The Dingle Literary Festival is on the middle of November, and it's a bilingual festival that was set up for authors and writers to come down to Dingle, but they talk about their books. So if they've written a new book, or we'll bring down Irish language, maybe even gone quite a bit modern as well. We might bring down podcasters, or we might bring down people who are involved in the literary world. But it's a way for them to also all spend time with each other, and they get to really socialise in the pubs. They get to meet up in the festival clubs, in the events that happen outside of the the daily event, like the events that happen throughout the day. And that's what they love. They love, the authors and writers love spending time with each other, and Dingle offers them that opportunity without being bothered. Like, they're just in McCarthy's pub up in the Dingle, like, and these are phenomenal, like, writers and authors. Like, Stanley Tucci was here 2 years ago, and like, world renowned, you know, and he was here, and like, some of the most famous Irish writers and authors just come down, and they just love catching up and spending time with each other.
I find that's what's pretty good with Dingle, that it's so small. Like, it's quite a small place. It's very, very walkable. But there's a lot inside of it, kind of thing. There's any number of bars in it and all that. I mean, it's I mean, a lot of places the same size as here would be
Exactly.
a lot going on, you know.
It just has everything, but again, people work so hard. Like, we work, I as one of the family-run businesses, we all work so hard to collaborate with each other, to support each other, to make sure that we keep the Dingle brand in the right limelight, and make sure that its uniqueness is kept. And I think that's what happens when you have people behind the businesses who are part of the business and an integral part of it. You know, it's so close to home, and that's what makes it. And you see that with anything that happens in the peninsula, because it is ran by the people who might have grown up here, have moved back here, or are, you know, just love the peninsula.
Is there many people moving back? Like yourself, anyways.
Yeah, there's that drive for people to move back at the moment. I suppose it's just to give people the opportunity to have to make a living here, and also,
because of COVID, a lot of people were able to go online.
We're able to go online and move back remotely. I suppose the other challenge that we have to look at is that sometimes you've the issue of accommodation in the peninsula that is challenging for people who want to move back here. But hopefully, with several new, I suppose, acts that hopefully will be coming in about it being a Gaeltacht area and all that, it'll be easier for young people to move back. But that is a challenge. But that's a challenge all over the country. It's a challenge all over the world. Yeah. It's something that you're facing everywhere. But I think, look, I was very lucky that I was able to move back. I'm so grateful that I am so immersed into the peninsula, into the community, and I think, like, it's kind of something that a lot of young people have realised that they want to be whenever they have spent several years maybe in cities, and then they just want to, you know, move back to somewhere like Dingle, where they're from.
Look, to wrap this up, is there anywhere you want to plug? You've got Instagram, you've got, you know, plug yourself wherever.
Obviously, like, I suppose with our own company, Dingle Sea Safari, I recommend anybody who's coming to Dingle to get out with us. You won't regret it. But no, all the businesses that I'd mentioned previously, all the festivals, all the events, just I'm not going to be giving them all. But I, like, as you said, I do my own content creation. I showcase Ireland, I showcase around the world. So yeah, follow me on Instagram at Jamie_Flann. FLAN. And yeah. That's about it.
All right, mega. Cheers, Jamie.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Great chatting to you.
It's
been fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. And so yeah, I already thanked you just there, but I want to thank Jamie for the great chat there. I want to thank Miles for producing this episode as well, and for driving us down to Dingle and driving us home tomorrow. I also want to thank you, the listener, for listening. If you got this far and you enjoyed the podcast, why not think of giving us a rating? And by the way, if you want to support this podcast financially, why not think of buying me a coffee? The link is in the description. Thanks for listening, and see you somewhere else in the Weird Ireland podcast.